during the World War II era and actually experienced the Mexican-American segregation. So, what was the city like during the Zoot Suit riots?
It was, the times I went in, it was just, it was fine. It's, I think see them standing around in corners and places and groups, and they'd be talking and all. But at night, I guess they must have aggravated the people or scared the people. And but for me, being just 11 years old, I didn't notice it that much. But I remember them the way they dressed and all. And but otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah.
And the only other thing remember is when the war was over, the Navy, Marines, and Army parked down the street on the Alameda Street at the end of our street, and they walked into town all the way to Watts with clubs in their hand, and that was in the evening, and it had to be summer because it was still daylight when they went into town, and 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 then I didn't know anything till the next day when my dad and I went to town, and we seen all the windows broken of all the stores and blood everywhere, and
So you're saying the scene was very dramatic?
yeah, but I mean, that's all I seen. I didn't see people. There was no people around on the day we went into town, and that was the end of the Pachucos or Lutzus. Some of them were good. You can't, it's just like any gangs or anything. The majority they're really good. It's those few that makes the rest of the people look bad. But I never heard of anyone, that got hurt from them. But I guess it does scare you it's because they were at the time they were all Hispanics that were in.
They weren't Hispanics, they were Mexicans.
Oh, okay, Mexicans. And they had their own location. There was a valley, but I don't know where that valley was, outside of Watts, that they would meet. But see, there again, I'm not sure that's the good people that are the ones, the bad ones, But that's the main thing that I remember. And
No. Grandma, you said you grew up actually during the time of the segregation during World War II. What was that like?
Well, I don't know if it was World War II. It was just like when I started grammar school, we were segregated from the rest of the classes. Our room, they had first, second, and third graders. They had a fence, so we could not go into the white part of the school. We're all Mexicans at that time, and some of the teachers were very prejudiced. Others were very nice to us. I didn't know any better because I was raised in a place where we were all Mexicans. All my friends are Mexicans, and it was just a group of us. And as for the Zoot Zooters, my neighbor was a Zoot Zooter. I remember him walking down the street, and my dad used to because I had an older sister, and he tried to keep her away from him, but he was no problem. I mean, I just remember him with his Zoot Zoot and his hat and his long chains. But he was, as far as I know, there was no trouble.
yeah, Now, getting back to mine, is I went to school then once, Catholic school. I went there for 4 years, the Catholic school, and I never had any problems with anyone in school or otherwise. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else. But no, I can't think what else. See, I've never seen the problems of what do you call it?
Segregation or racial tension.
Or like Mary, your grandma did, you know.
Yeah, they changed all our names, because my name is Maria Magdalena, and they changed it to Mary. Luis became Louis. Concha or Consuelo became Connie. They changed our name, and we were not allowed to speak any Spanish at all.
Was it hard for you?
I didn't think of it one way or another, except that when we did pass by the kids who were having class, and they were having crafts. We never had anything like that. We never had crafts. It was just, and then too, they used to, like first, second, and third was all Mexicans, and the fourth we integrated with the white kids, and they would give us Fs, and then they would bring in a new teacher, and we would get Bs, but they would just kind of write us up. They never encouraged us to take any high classes like English literature or anything. And by the time we graduated from high school in 1950, there was only 5 of us that graduated, Mexicans. The rest had all dropped out of school, like in junior high and high school, but only 5 of us graduated. There was one other girl besides myself and 3 boys. It was very, but I mean, by that time I had no trouble. But even when we moved to Riverside, there was still a lot of prejudice in Riverside. If you want me to talk about that. Okay.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your day for this interview, and I'll bring you back to the studio.